busy and you're tired a lot.
It's difficult to be a musician the way you want to be a musician.
Especially being in music school when I'm surrounded by people that are just as good as me or better than me.
And you don't make a lot of money.
There's always going to be someone better than you.
The hardest part about being a musician for me right now is...
My name's Bryan Persinger. I'm 31 years old, play guitar. The worst part about being a musician is just the amount of uncertainty / waiting involved in it. I had a professor in college that told me that if you make a contact, it's an average of 3 to 5 years before that contact pays off for you, right? Like before you get a gig from it. And honestly, that can be nerve-wracking, especially when you first start out, you're trying to make money, you're trying to make a living, you got bills to pay. Do I get a day job? And you're meeting people, and it feels like things are happening, but you got to wait. You might get a gig here, a gig there, and then finally it does start to pick up. You just have to have faith and just trust the process. But definitely the waiting around is hard.
Now, what would you say is the best part about being a musician at this point?
The best part about being a musician is when you're on stage and you're really hitting it with the band, and everything feels great, and the crowd's vibing, and you feel that connection that music brings that nothing else does, and it feels really special.
I'm Brett McCutcheon. I'm 21 years old. Hardest part about being a musician, for me at least, is being so hypercritical of everything that I'm doing. Especially being in music school when I'm surrounded by people that are just as good as me or better than me. It's just really hard to be in the practice room all the time and accept that where I'm at is where I'm at, and that's completely okay, because it has to be okay, really.
Yeah. Now, what about the other side of things? What would you say is the best part at this stage?
Best part. I would say the best part about being a musician is the creative freedom and all the doors that open along the way. That's really why we're doing it, really. So just having more tools in the tool belt, it's a great thing to see as time goes on.
As I say this, it's like I'm really talking about like trying to make a living being a musician. You were like, what's the hardest part about being a musician? When you asked me that, I was thinking in terms of like being a working musician, where playing music is your career. Yeah. It's what generates your income.
My name is Brian Wolfe. I'm 50 years old. I'll be 51 in August. I've been making my living as a musician since I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
I started calling myself a drummer when I was 14, but like playing drums has been my primary source of income since I was 19 years old. I'm 50, and I'm proud of that. What's the hardest part about being a musician? When you asked me that question, I thought about this thing. My father was a working musician, like a working class musician. Military musician who went to military music school, played gigs around town in the town where I grew up, fully committed, He was also a music educator, a band director, but he was a working drummer and singer. And when I started to get serious about music, he tried lovingly to talk me out of this life because his concern was financial uncertainty. Other careers, other jobs, it's like I get paid every 2 weeks and I get paid this much. And I can count on it. And he wanted to protect me from the financial uncertainty that is the music business. I mean, think about it. Think about how far the pendulum swings between people who make more money than anyone would ever need from music. Yeah. And their children and their children's children. You know what I'm saying? That exists. Making that kind of money, change your life money. And then the pendulum swings all the way back to people around Pittsburgh this weekend, working somewhere in a bar, making $100, right? Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
So that's scary. And my dad was scared of that. He wanted to protect me from that.
Yeah.
And he tried to talk me out of it lovingly. But then he saw me start working and making some money as a 19-year-old, and he was like, oh wow, he's serious. He can figure this out. So what's the hardest part about being a musician? The first thing that comes to my mind is the financial uncertainty of it. That none of it's promised. That it goes up and down drastically. And there can be periods where, and there's things you can do to set yourself up so you can make a good living playing music, but still the pendulum's going to swing, it's going to dip. There were times where I made lots of money playing music, and times where I was struggling to handle the bills and the rent. It's been whatever. But eventually, if you're smart, you can figure out how to get to the point where you're oh, I see how to be responsible and turn this into a career and make a living and handle my business. And save money over time. You can do it, even if you don't luck into those situations that generate tons of money for you. They need us to move. Sorry.
Yeah. Can I ask you the best part now?
The best
What is the best part about being a musician? Can we get that too? You hear?
Sure. The best part of being a musician for me, again, I'm looking at this from a like working musician standpoint.
Yeah.
Like best part of being a working musician, somebody who's like, music is my job.
Yeah.
Music is my livelihood. What I've been telling my son who's 14, this idea that like I actually, as ridiculous as it may sound, I really love my work.
Yeah.
Even tonight, like what we have to do tonight, there's plenty that I can dig into where I'm like enjoying it and growing and learning every time. Like getting a little better, deeper, a little better wisdom, better perspective every single time. The fact that that's my work, that like at age 50, there's still no end in sight of like room to grow and learn and keep getting better and keep going deeper.
Yeah.
That's the best part for me, because then you don't get burnt out. You're excited to get up in the morning and work on your
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love it. Man, thank you so much.
It's weird that like the face is obscured. Like,
Oh yeah, sorry.
glad that you're over there. I'm like looking. I was like, oh man, this is creeping me out, man. Hi, my name's Eddan Sparks. I'm 31 years old. I'm a professional musician here in Pittsburgh. I would say, for me, the hardest part about being a professional musician is just the general embrace of like the unknown, like not knowing where the gig's gonna come from, where the money's gonna come from, not really knowing what each year is gonna look like, and making the sacrifice to be a part of that. Yeah, just kind of like being on your toes, kind of always, is definitely can grade on you.
Now, what's the best part for you?
Consequently, embracing the unknown a bit.
Whoa.
And kind of, being able to live, maybe not like on the fringe as much, but just kind of live differently and be able to do something that, I think most of us have always wanted to do. Maybe not specific gigs, but playing music and paying your bills doing it and stuff. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
I'm Adam. Wait, should I look at the camera? I'm Adam Bleil, 25. For me, the hardest part about being a musician currently is balancing, like trying to get really good at the craft, like get really good at playing, improvising, like trumpet technique and everything, and at the same time trying to prepare for gigs and like perform and like learn music for performances. And I think it's kind of like the whole concept of like in school, either studying for a test, like getting ready to take a test, versus learning to just learn. And so I think a lot of times like I just find myself getting ready for a gig or like getting ready to take a test and not enough time just like actually trying to get better and better. So it's like, how do you balance that? How do you find the time to do both of those things?
Now, what would you say is the best part about being a musician, especially for you right now?
I think the best part is just like getting to play music that I listen to like on the day-to-day basis and get excited about. You just like actually get to be a part of it. Like you get to make it for yourself. So like I just get really like giddy and excited when I'm listening to like today this Marquise Hill record, and I'm like, dang, I just want to like go play it, and we've got people here and friends to like make it happen. So that's really cool, just to like get excited about something and then be able to go do it.
My name's Tyler Brewer. I'm a vocalist. I play guitar. I'm 38. I'm married with 2 kids, and that's relevant to this answer, because the hardest thing about being a musician for me isn't the music part. It's the schedule. My gig time is often the time that my kids are free and they're home when birthday parties and trips to amusement parks happen, and I'm often catching up and hearing about the stories, and I'm not really there. So there's a lot of memories that I know in the future will end up with, oh yeah, Dad, wish you could have been there. That's probably the hardest thing about being a musician.
Now, what's the best part?
The best part is that saying, if you do something for a living that you love, you'll never really work a day in your life. That is about 90% true. I get to come to work, I get to sing, I get to entertain people, I get to do something that I truly enjoy, that I'm passionate about, and something that on the other side, with my kids, with my family, they're actually proud of. You know, they get to point to me, and it makes you feel like you're doing something that you're kind of a hero in your kids' eyes. Which is really cool.
I would say the worst thing about being a musician is the way
the majority of people value music, I would say. For weddings and stuff like that, I feel like we're often treated as like the help, right? And that's fine. Like it is, I look at that side of music, like being like for private parties, any corporate gigs, weddings. I look at that as like being part of the service industry. So that's fine, but like basically all of the problems of the service industry are kind of like there. So a lot of people will be like, just like think of you as lesser and just like, oh, you're working for me, so like you do this, you do that. And I don't know, like that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So that's like the working musician side of things. And then the artist side of things, it's just like, it's really hard to like convince someone like, hey, I made this and I think it's good and I think you'll like it too. It's difficult to be a musician the way you want to be a musician. Yeah, it's a lot of work, for sure. It's tougher than I want it to be, but best part is, music is awesome, and like if you're playing music, you know. Yeah, there's, on the artistic side, it's like there's such a freedom in, performing your own thing, and like I do a lot of jazz, so like if you're playing jazz with the people that you really like playing with, there's something so freeing and beautiful about that.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks.
I'm just gonna get canceled by my family because that's my answer. I was like, you never get to see your.
My family sucks.
No. I mean, you never get to see your family because you're always working on the weekends. My name is Denny Karl. I'm a professional musician here in Pittsburgh. I'm 38. I think the hardest thing about going pro is the fact that your life operates opposite of everybody else's. So you're always working on the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays. That's when your family and your friends are going to want to do fun things. And, you got to make time for that. And you don't make a lot of money, so it's hard to take a Saturday off. But it's important, and you got to make time for the important people in your life.
Can I spring this on you? What's the best part about being a musician?
The best part is just, you got to love it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to make all the sacrifices that we do. I love music, and that's the best part, is just being able to do something you love and people give you money for it. So there you go.
That's perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
I'm Alex. I'm 23. I play trumpet. I think the hardest part about being a musician, for me personally, is just like self-doubt. There's always going to be someone better than you, and there's always going to be someone having that other gig. It's so easy to get your head wrapped around and like, oh, I could be doing better, I could be doing this, I could be, working harder, like, but then there also can be confusion, like, oh, am I even like working hard enough? Am I not doing enough of this or enough of that? And I think what helps me is just to do a reality check once in a while, being like, okay, so how many hours am I actually putting in? How many hours should I actually put in? What am I actually practicing? What could I practice more of? What can I practice less of? While you're doing that reality check, like, I just don't think about other people in that reality check. I just don't compare to other, because you never know, like, the person you're comparing, like, you don't know their full situation. That's the hardest part for me, is just self-doubt and getting in your head a lot.
What about the best part?
Best part, I really like getting free food a lot, because there would be weekends where I don't have to pay for any food at all, or like eat any of my groceries, because just everything's like cooked and made for me. But I think like honest answer is like, just the simple answer is just like doing what I love.
If you don't mind, could you say your name and your age? Are you cool with your age?
Oh, that's my age again.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
If not, you can do it.
Can I say now?
Yeah, Joe Scheller did. He said, I'm Joe Scheller and I'm timeless. That's what he said.
Joe Scheller would say that, and he is timeless. My name is Lehman, and I'm 34.
Cool. So what's the worst part about being a musician?
I can't wait to hear what other people say. I'd say personally, letting go, and I mean that in a working with other people standpoint. When you are in the position that we're in, where we work with different people every single weekend, sometimes every single day, it's not like an office where you have this cohesive unit where you're together every day, everyone's kind of on the same page. You're in our case, many times we're thrown into situations where we're working with people for the first time or with people we haven't worked with often. Not everyone's going to do it the same way you do. you know, when I first quit my job and started playing music professionally, I had it in my mind that I had all my together, and that the way I do it is how everyone should do it. And then the moment I start working with different people, and that doesn't happen, I get mad. And I get bummed out, or I get like uninspired or something. After a while, that can like wear you down. And then if you're mindful, you can sort of look at that and say, why do I feel this way? It's like, well, it's me, really. That's the thing. So like when in the context of work of music in which we're working with different people all the time. So you have to be able to like let go of like different styles, different personalities, all that kind of stuff, and just find the through line, the commonality, find the personality of someone that you like. And if there's like someone that you truly don't get along with and that doesn't like mesh, that's fine. You're probably on stage with other people too, and you can resonate with them and just kind of like hang with them. So like it's not always gonna be your homies, as much as we like it to be. So you have to learn to let some things go, understand that you're not hot. Kind of like check your ego. The best part of being a musician and pretty much only doing music is that I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. I mean, if I say no to something, I'm turning down money, and so I have to be ready to pick something else up. But you get really good at finding where to segment your time and delegate, and you can then sort of start to really get into positions where you're like, man, I'm only doing the stuff that I love with people that I really like, and there aren't many times where I'm not having a good time. Even though we complain and do all that stuff, it's just like, you know, service industry, that's what happens. But I was thinking about that the other day when I was at the pool, and I should have been practicing. I was like, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. Today, I'm not going to practice. I'm going to the pool. And I could do that because I didn't have, you know, I wasn't tied to any one job or office or anything like that. So.
My name is JD Chaisson. I'm 33. I think the hardest part about being a musician is dealing with your schedule, specifically related to being available for family functions and getting together with friends and family, because a lot of times our schedules are opposite of everybody's. So when we're working, all the people we want to hang out with are getting together and having fun. So a lot of times you're on a gig and you could be somewhere, you know, with your family, and you can't, unfortunately. Trying to deal with that kind of scheduling can be really hard.
Now I'll spring this one on you, but what's the best part about being a musician?
The best part, it's when all the things that you love about being a musician line up all at the same time. So when you're playing like the great music, maybe you really like to travel a lot, you got paid to travel somewhere really cool, you're playing with your friends, like all this, when all that stuff like comes together, it's like, okay, this is why I do this.
Don't mind, could you say your name and your age if you're cool with that? If you don't want to say your age, you don't have to, but
that's fine. My name is Joe Scheller, and I am timeless. No, I'm 34. I think.
So what is the
34? The hardest part right now about being a musician is the balance of everything between like a day gig or a teaching job and playing, balancing the kinds of playing that you do, like, you know, how much do you say yes to those kind of gigs, how much say yes to this kind of gig. But even on a broader scale, like just a simple work-life balance, which is, regardless of your career choice, difficult, but in our particular field, can be really challenging at times. It can actually feel like arduous and ponderous. And I'm someone who gets to gig regularly with my spouse. But even with that, like, I'm lucky enough to still have a grandfather I'm very close with, who's alive. He's 96, will be 97 in January. Using him sort of as an example, is like it's hard to not go see him sometimes, knowing that it's just not realistic with, you know, where I have to get from point A to point B that day. And so making sure that you find time to do that, but then it's always a compromise, you know. Time is the only commodity that we only get a set amount of, right? So like, you know, how you spend your time is the most telling thing about what you think is important. But then also, like, there's a different side of that equation, which is like, there's a lot of things about being a musician that are difficult too, and people deal with different parts of that. There's the anxiety of certain parts of it that a lot of people, face even different kinds of that. There's like sort of the imposter syndrome side of things, which is sort of a term that's in vogue right now. I never heard of that until maybe like the last half decade. I think right now I became an old man where I was like, I never heard of that until the last 5 years. But like maybe that's true. Maybe I'm old enough now to say that. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just like late to the culture party. I don't know. But that's real. It's like if you're in a situation where you're playing with friends or you're playing with colleagues and you want to contribute positively, you want to do your job well. It's like, am I doing them well? Am I balancing the rest of my life to make sure that I'm in good enough shape on my horn or with the prep I did to do a good job? Musicians are sort of famously bad at self-care often in terms of like, checking in with themselves. Or maybe I'm projecting on everybody else.
What would you say is the best part about being a musician?
I knew in 7th grade I wanted to play the saxophone. Like, as much as I could. The feeling of like, we played like Sidewinder in my 7th grade jazz band. And I'm pretty sure, if I went back and listened to the recording, I'm pretty sure I like swung Sidewinder because I didn't know any better. I was just like, I guess it's jazz, baby. Like, yeah, it's like 12 years old and was just like, guess you gotta swing it. I don't know. And then in like 8th grade, I had Bobby and Sco. I was really lucky I had Bobby and Sco in 8th grade. My instrumental music teacher was like, one of the workingest bass players in town. And he was like, hey, you should play on this thing called, this tune called The Chicken. There's this soul intro. And so we did this chart. That was like, I've like been chasing, that was like, that was the, trying to avoid a illegal substance metaphor. That was the thing that got me hooked.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was that feeling. And so that's really great. I really love the people, generally speaking, that we get to do this with. This is painting with a broad brush, because not every musician I play with is my favorite person. But the overwhelming majority of the time, that's true. I'm playing with people I like. Yeah. And so the community that is my colleagues, I like a lot. They're people who now are some of my closest friends. And then I still just I really like playing. I won't say that I'm in that like mode of like, I can't believe they're paying me to do this. Right? Because like, I can believe it. I've worked really, really hard to do this. Yeah. Those moments on stage too that like really fill your soul. I remember, I think it was Branford Marsalis at some point, not like that's a Joe Scheller name drop. I didn't mean that. I think it was him who said at one point, it was like, he's like said something about having lots of friends who are like, they have a day job and they golf together and they're great friends. But sometimes those people would never understand what it is to like fill their bucket on stage with 3 of your friends playing music you care about. And I could be wrong, that could not be his, I might be misremembering. But it's busy and you're tired a lot and you always are stressed about the next thing, but it's really great. And you get to, I don't know, I could go on and on.
That's perfect. No, I love it. Thanks, man.
So I'm 24, and the hardest part about being a musician for me right now is just trying to figure out like how many gigs I can take and still perform at 100% on all of them. This is something I'm really trying to figure out right now at this stage in my career, where I'm starting to get called for a lot of stuff, which is awesome, and I'm super grateful. People always say yes to everything when you're young, but the problem is I'm saying yes to everything, and now I'm realizing like I just don't have enough time to prepare for certain gigs, and so now I'm kind of playing at 90%, or I'm a little on edge on these gigs, I'm a little less prepared, and I don't want the quality of my work to ever suffer, so that's something I'm just trying to figure out, and it's definitely hard. Just like the overall workload too, because I'm also like a content creator, so I'm trying to be like a full-time musician and a full-time content creator, and I just like work all the time. Like a lazy Sunday afternoon does not exist for me, you know what I mean? Which is fine, like this is temporary, but it's just, the workload of it all is definitely the hardest part for me right now. And not having health insurance is a drag too, but there are ways you can get health insurance as a musician, like if you teach at a public school. I get so many comments from young musicians that say, oh, I can't wait to do what you do, and it looks like your gigs are so much fun. And there are definitely a lot of really fun parts about being a musician, but there's some not so fun parts, as I'm sure you saw in this video. And I just wanted to share that and try to keep this as, honest and open, because just like any job, there are pros and cons. And it's also easy to like look on social media and see and think like, oh, it's all fun all the time, when that's not the case. All the musicians that are in this video are linked in the description with their social medias and stuff, so please go check them out, show them some love. Let me know if you like this video series and if there's anything else you want me to ask a bunch of my musician friends. I don't really know what I'm doing with these videos. I'm just trying to put out information that I wish I would have had when I was first starting.